Okay, welcome back to the last section in chapter 17. This is 17.6. We're going to be talking about a group of chemical messengers called the eicosanoids. Here are your learning outcomes. Paracrines are chemical messengers that are going to be diffused from a cell in a tissue and act on nearby cells, generally in that same tissue. Some examples of our paracrines are going to be histamine, which come from immune cells called mast cells in our connective tissues. And these are going to migrate to the blood vessels and cause relaxation of those blood vessels. Nitric oxide is also a paracrine that comes from the endothelial cells of the blood vessels and will act on other cells within the blood vessel itself, causing vasodilation. Then we have our catecholamines like epinephrine and norepinephrine. These are going to diffuse from the adrenal medulla and have an impact on the adrenal cortex. Our autocrines are going to be chemical messengers that are going to be stimulated from the cell that secreted them. So our T cells, particularly our T helper cell, is going to release something called an interleukin that will feed back onto that same T cell and activate that T cell to differentiate into other T cells. You can have a single chemical that can act as a hormone as it gets into the bloodstream and travels to other parts of the body, or it can be a paracrine where it has that nearby effect on those same tissues, or it can even be a neurotransmitter in other locations like the adrenal glands. The eicosanoids are a family of paracrines that come from one of the fatty acids on our triglycerides, a fatty acid called arachidonic acid. We also have an enzyme that will act on this arachidonic acid to produce other types of proteins. This enzyme is called lipoxygenase. This lipoxygenase is going to convert arachidonic acid to leukotrienes. These leukotrienes are going to be proteins that have an impact on our blood vessels and some of our other tissues in the respiratory tract to cause allergic reactions and other inflammatory reactions that come along with those. Another enzyme, cyclooxygenase, can convert arachidonic acid to different types of eicosanoids. These are going to be eicosanoids that are going to include prostaglandin. They're going to include thromboxanes as well as prostacyclin. Prostacyclin is going to be an eicosanoid that is going to inhibit blood clotting. So it's going to be an antagonist to the action of our platelets. It can also cause vasoconstriction of the blood vessels. The thromboxanes, these are going to be produced by our blood platelets after injury. These thromboxanes are going to override the action of prostacyclin. They're going to go ahead and begin the clotting process even in the presence of prostacyclin. They're also going to stimulate vasoconstriction as well as blood clotting. Then we have our prostaglandins. We have two types of prostaglandins, prostaglandin E and prostaglandin F. Prostaglandin E is going to relax the smooth muscles of the bladder, of the intestines, of the bronchioles, even of the uterus, and it's going to stimulate then the contraction of our blood vessels. Prostaglandin F is going to have just the opposite effect. So the tissues that were relaxed now are going to contract, and what was now stimulated to contract will now relax. So you have these two types of prostaglandins that are going to be antagonistic to each other or have opposite effects. So if we look at our eicosanoids, we have our arachidonic acid in our phospholipids. That phospholipid is going to be broken down into our arachidonic acid. That arachidonic acid then is going to be triggered or will convert itself based on the enzymes acting on it, either to leukotrienes or prostaglandin. Now, some of the medications that we take can actually interfere with the production of these different paracrines. We can have our steroidal anti-inflammatories. These can interfere with the breakdown of our phospholipid to that arachidonic acid. Our non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen and the like, those are going to inhibit the action of prostacyclin and those thromboxans as well as prostaglandins. So you interfere with that when we take some kinds of medication. Okay, that is the end of chapter 17. We will pick up in the next unit with a discussion on the spinal cord, the brain, and our autonomic nervous system.